Hello and welcome to my video about how to make essential oil blends. And first of all, I will introduce myself and say I am Elizabeth Ashley. I am the author of the Secret Healer Essential Oil Manuals, and of which there are around about 20 now, and I'm also the owner of a blog called How Do Essential Oils Work. Now, I do have quite a few people on my Facebook page who are eager to know more about essential oil blending, and I have a confession that I did say I was going to do this in a webinar, but it seemed to me it would be better if there was information that you could come back to regularly rather than it disappearing. So, how to make essential oil blends. Now, for those of you who are not sure what an essential oil is, I would imagine there's not many of you, but they are concentrated essences of plants that have been extracted by various means, but usually by distillation. We group them for blending into something called notes. So blending notes we call them, and we say they are top or head, middle or heart, and base notes. So top, middle, base, or head, heart, base. They're interchangeable, and mostly it relates to how heavy that essential oil is. So for example, you might have some lemon oil or some orange oil, and you tip them and they go, they come out really fast because they're very thin. Or you might have some vetiver or some myrrh, and you're sitting there for 10, 11, 12, 13, oh my goodness, my birthday's come and gone and Christmas is coming and it's still not come out the bottle, and that's because it's a very heavy oil, and so molecularly it's heavy, and we call those the base notes. And in between we have things like lavender, geranium, they're middle notes. And for the most part, most oils tend to sort of be around the middle. Yeah, sometimes you'll have some that sort of go on the border. So if you read my books, I might say, right, okay, such and such an oil is a middle to top note, and that means that we can use them interchangeably. It's not very technical, it's just how it works in blends. So when we're looking to create a blend for a condition, what we would do is start by identifying what oils we wanted for the actual symptom or the problem that we're trying to deal with. So for example, we might say, right, I want a relaxing blend just to make my life much easier than trying to do something complicated. What we're going to do is we're going to try and put 3 oils together, and that would be a top note, a middle note, and a base note. And this system is called synergistic blending, and the synergy means that the sum of the 3 parts together is stronger than the one oil on its own. It's not a necessary way of blending. You can just use one oil on its own if you want to. To be honest, one essential oil on its own would still be a synergy in its own right, because it's one drop that contains lots and lots of chemicals already. But what we're doing here is blending them together to try and build upon the properties. Now, as you start to get better at aromatherapy, you come out of just blending for the symptom and you say, right, okay, what might have happened to cause that symptom? And as we go through the videos, we'll start building on that. But at the moment, we'll just start by going easy and saying, I'm tense, I need to relax. Okay, so if you go to the blog, there's a download of a list, or my list, of blending notes. So for example, I don't know if you can see it actually because my printer didn't like it, but so I've done it in 2 ways to make it easy for myself. So I go down alphabetically of the oils, but then I've done it again where I say, right, okay, if I'm looking for a top note, which ones? Yeah, so it's the same list, just in 2 separate parts. So for example, my favourite oils to use to relax would be vetiver, because it's lovely and grounding and sedative, and helps me to sleep, but also switches my brain off. So I would go to my book and I would say, there, vetiver is a base note, right? So I'm going to put vetiver on my thing. I will show you my piece of paper in a minute. Then I'm going to say, right, geranium then. What's geranium? Go down and we can see that geranium is a middle note. Lovely. So from there, I kind of tend to get stumped and I go, oh, I need a top note, because I'm easy at middle and base notes. So what we can do then is we can go to the list and we can say, oh, I didn't print off most of the top notes, but I know that orange is a top note, so I'm going to go orange. Right. So those are my 3 oils. So what we would do is we would then go to calculate maximum dilution, and I'm not going to explain how to do that in this video because I've just done that video, and I'll refer you to it. If you look in the description below, it tells you about it. But we're going to say, right, calculate the maximum dilution of an oil. So for me it would be 3%. So if I'm doing a teaspoon of oil, 3% is going to be 3 drops. And then we're going to use the blending pyramid. And I have to say, I don't know who Henrad radiators are, but they owe me some serious cash because I keep advertising them on my videos. I've stolen this from Daryl's work. So can you see it's an inverted pyramid, right? So across the top we have T, T, T. That's top, top, top. Underneath that we have MM, middle, middle, and at the bottom, B for base, right? So what this means is, in this pyramid, we want to create a ratio where the top notes, which are more subtle than the base notes, have 3 times as many. So for every 1 base note, we want 2 middles, 3 tops. Okay? So why do we do that? Well, this volatility, I can't do it. The volatility of the essential oil is how fast the molecules will evaporate off. Okay? So the light ones, of course, disappear off like fairy dust. Yeah? And the heavy ones linger. So if you do a really beautiful blend, proper sexy one, and you have good base notes, the next morning you wake up and you can still remember the sex because the base note is still heavy on the skin, but the top notes have disappeared, right? So if we put the same amount, the 3 drops of base with the 3 drops of so let's put it into oils, 3 drops of vetiver with 3 drops of orange, the orange would just be disappeared. It would just be smothered. So if you can imagine it like, I don't know, kids in a classroom. You've got the one kid who is noisy, he's disruptive, he's going to make the most amount of fuss. That's vetiver. We only need 1 of those. Just the 1. We do need 3 little kids with glasses who are sitting there quietly listening to every word, right? So this is how we're balancing it out, because those 3 kids have got their job to do. We only need the 1 base note. So we're going to keep it nice and quiet, right? So if we decide we want to do a bigger blend than a teaspoon of oil, we can multiply that up. So we can say, right, we want to do 100 ml of carrier oil, and for those of you who don't know, that's roughly 4 ounces of carrier oil. It's quite big, yeah. We can say, right, maximum dilution, well, let's calculate it in my head. So 100 ml is 2,000 drops of carrier. So 1% is 20, right? So we can say maximum dilution that we want to do, 1% is 20. If we wanted to do 3%, we could say 60 drops. We could have a maximum of 60 drops of the base note. But if we did that, we would have to have 3 times as many, 180 drops of top note. Do you think that's good? Mathematically, it's great. It will smell heavenly. The bank manager will want to kill you. It's really expensive. So, I mean, actually, it's way too much, isn't it? So what we would say is, right, we're going to bring that down. As long as we keep that pyramid. Can you see it? Yeah, as long as we keep the pyramid, then that's all good, right? So we can say, right, in which case, let's bring it down then. Let's have 3% maximum dilution on the top notes. What did I say it was going to be? 60 drops, yeah? Here. If we're going to do 3 drops here, then this has got to be 2 drops. So 60 comes down to 40, comes down to 20. I hope that makes sense. I think I might have explained that in a more complicated way. So just remember this 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. All the way. As long as you keep that 3, 2, 1 ratio in place, then it stays as a proper synergistic blend. So my question that I'm going to answer is, you know, when you write recipes, Liz, do you do that? Nah, I don't. I use much less oil because I'm tight. But that is how you do a proper therapeutic blend, and that's more really for if you want it to smell like perfume. That's the beginnings of perfume. So that is how to blend essential oils. Hopefully that is helpful to you, and have a look in the description below. I've put links to all the other videos in this series, because if I make one big one, it's just going to be too confusing, and you'll be able to see the other things that I'm covering. Thank you for those of you who are liking and subscribing. I can't believe I'm turning into a YouTuber, but I love it. So thank you, and do share, and thanks for all the lovely comments that you're sending. And what would be really helpful to me is if you can send me questions, because I know that there's too much rubbish in this head and sometimes I assume that you'll understand things better than you do. So feel free to send me questions, or through my Facebook page, and I'm going to put a link to that in the description as well. Come and find us in there and join the aroma party on the Secret Healer Rights page. So for the meantime, how to make essential oil blends? The answer is go and do it. Let me know how you get on. Bye.